This is the final moment of week 7, the moment where everything that you practiced begins to integrate. By the end of week 7, you've crossed an essential threshold in the blueprint. This is the week where emotional experience begins to operate differently inside of you. Not because the emotions changed or not because life softened, but because your relationship to your emotions transformed. And this closing lesson exists for one reason: to anchor what became possible. This week, you're not learning how to feel more deeply, you're learning how to feel more accurately. Emotions stopped being something that overwhelmed you and became something that informed you. You began to recognize that every feeling carries direction. Every rise carries a message, and those messages were never meant for the mind. They were meant for the heart. The one place inside you that can turn sensation into truth. This shift is not emotional improvement. It's emotional intelligence solidifying inside of your system. And you can feel the difference. You can now sense the moment an emotion begins. The difference between a reaction and a signal, the point where meaning comes forward in your chest, the truth that stabilizes everything in your body, and the internal authority that speaks once truth is known. These aren't soft skills, they're structural developments in your consciousness. You've been changing on a far deeper level than mood or mindset. Your system's learning how to organize itself around truth rather than fear. That's why week 7 matters. Most people live their entire lives interpreting emotion through fear, memory, or survival. They feel the sensation and immediately assume danger. They follow the story instead of the message. They react before they recognize. But not you, not anymore. This week showed you something different. It showed you that emotion's not a trigger, it's a teacher. Before this week, you may have tried to control your feelings. This week, you learned to interpret them. Before this week, you may have identified with the intensity. This week, you followed the information within the intensity. Before this week, your heart may have been drowned out by old patterns. This week, it became the center of translation. The milestone of week 7 is not emotional understanding, it's emotional clarity. And that clarity changes everything. Because once this emotion reaches the heart, once the rise completes its path, your system reorganizes itself. Your inner world becomes more coherent. Old patterns lose their urgency. Old stories soften. You don't collapse as quickly. You don't spiral as long. And you begin to recognize with startling precision, this emotion is a signal. This emotion is a pattern. This emotion is a boundary. This emotion is a desire. This emotion is an ending. This emotion is a beginning. This is awareness maturing. And awareness that matures becomes authority. Recognition is the anchor of this week. Not the recognition of what happened, but the recognition of who you became because of it. This week turned emotional movement into emotional meaning. It turned emotional meaning into alignment, and alignment into stability. Recognition makes the shift real. It turns experience into evolution and understanding into identity. It turns awareness into something that you can trust. This is why the blueprint never asks you to rush forward. It asks you to recognize what has already shifted. So before moving into the heart gate, take time to acknowledge the truth of what rose for you this week. Not the story around it, not the fear around it, not the expectation around it, the truth. Ask yourself, What truth did I meet this week that I'm ready to live from? Let this question open something inside of you. Let the first answer come softly and let it land fully. By the end of week 7, you crossed a line inside of yourself that most people will never even see in their lifetime. You didn't just survive your emotions this week. You learned how to stand still in the middle of them. Most people run from that moment. Most people sprint the other way. They spend decades trying to shut their feelings down or numb them out or explain them away, but you didn't. You stayed. You faced the rise instead of avoiding it. You let the truth catch up to you. And that changes everything. This week you didn't learn how to feel more. You learned how to feel accurately. And what that means is that you learned the difference between a reaction and a signal. You learned how to tell the truth from the noise, how to let the emotion rise all the way up to the heart without tapping out halfway. And all that takes courage and discipline. Takes a level of personal leadership that most people never practice. The person who can face their inner world without backing down is the person who can face anything. You didn't just feel things, you looked directly at what was underneath of them. You didn't let the old story take the wheel. You didn't let the fear talk over you. And you didn't let your past self make your decisions for you. You confronted the raw information coming out of your own body. You didn't negotiate with it or water it down. You took it as it was. That's rare. Most people refuse to do that work because it strips away their illusions. It exposes where they've been lying to themselves. It exposes the places they still choose comfort over truth. And every pattern that they blame on circumstances instead of admitting that they may have created it. But you stepped into the ring with yourself. You didn't tap out. And because of that, you walked out of this week a different person. This was the week you realized you're not fragile. You're not confused. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're just undistracted for the first time. Your emotions didn't get easier, you just got sharper. Your life didn't get quieter, you just stopped drowning in the noise. Nothing changed around you. You changed. You finally saw that your inner world isn't chaos, it's communication. And once you stopped fighting the message, you could hear what it was trying to tell you. You didn't become stronger this week. You became aligned. And aligned people don't waste energy fighting battles inside of themselves. They take that energy and they use it to move forward. That's what week 7 gave you. It handed you the ability to see exactly what's happening inside you. Without collapsing, without panicking, without creating a story to protect your ego. You learned to observe instead of react, to interpret instead of assume. You learned to respond instead of escape. That's the kind of self-leadership that changes the course of a whole life. You can no longer pretend you don't know what's happening inside you. You can no longer say, I don't understand. You can no longer hide behind emotional chaos. You can no longer blame patterns that you finally learned how to recognize. You're responsible now, not in a punishing way, but in a powerful one. Because when you stop lying to yourself, you stop limiting yourself. This week isn't the end of a lesson, it's the beginning of your personal standard. So carry it, own it. Live like someone who finally sees their own truth and refuses to negotiate with it. Week 7 didn't give you clarity, it demanded it. And you stepped up. Now keep stepping.